going to happen. Fix it next book. So I did.
Oh, wow. That's like Edgar Rice Burroughs trying to kill off Tarzan's Jane and publishers saying, nuh-uh. I would say Liz earned a new pair of shoes on that one.
She did. She's right. I never intended Cotton to be monogamous. And let me tell you why. And because when you write a series, and if you'll notice this on television and all, the protagonist of the TV series almost never have a family.
Right.
They never have a wife. They never have a husband. They have ex-wives, ex-husbands, and ex-families. And the reason for that is, as you well know, you've written this too, they get in the way after a while.
Right.
They just kind of get in the way. We're writing a story. Each one, remember, has to be the same but different.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't sit around and deal with a family in every story and introduce everybody and go through all of that. It's better to keep them kind of freelance. And I always wanted Cotton to play the field. He was never to be monogamous. But again, Elizabeth, there's where she stepped in. She says that's not going to happen either. So he's now kind of settled down with Cassiopeia. And I confess I wish he could play the field a little bit. I think it'd be a little more fun from a writing standpoint.
Well, a relationship limits, cuts off. But then again, given how poor Cotton was with women, maybe this is for the best.
Yeah, and she understands him and she gets him and she knows how to deal with him and he knows how to deal with her. And it's worked out very well. Cassiopeia comes about every other book. I don't have her in every novel. About every other book. And when she's not there, I bring in another character called Luke Daniels, who's a younger guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's a younger version of Cotton. So I can have a character who can make mistakes and screw up and really, because he's learning on the job. And Luke comes in when Cassiopeia is not there.
Maybe it's my imagination, but I think that Cotton's imperfections are not good with women. His personal life was a mess. Better now with Cassiopeia, but I think that's part of the appeal. I think that's what humanizes him and makes people want to read more of him.
That's what I was hoping too. I mean, that's why I gave him those imperfections. I wanted him to be someone we all know and someone like you don't mind being stuck on an elevator with him. That kind of guy.
You think you'll get tired of Cotton? You mentioned Lee Child a minute ago, who of course has announced that he's done writing the Reacher books.
He is,
passing
but
the
his
torch.
brother's going to take him over.
Right. So you think you'll ever do something like that?
I think not anytime soon. I think me and Cotton are going to be together for a while. He serves me well. He does a great job, and I like him and I enjoy him, so I'd like to keep him going. I wouldn't mind branching out a little bit. I wouldn't mind Luke Daniels having his own book. I wouldn't mind Cassiopeia having her own book. That would be fun to do, but I don't want to get rid of Cotton. No.
That's sensible. Can we talk a minute about history? Your books are so steeped in history. That, too, is clearly one of the appeals. People learn a little something at the same time they're being entertained. How do you come up with that stuff? What kind of research do you do?
Well, it's about an 18-month process to research one of my novels. I do it 6 months. The last 6 months of writing the novel, or I start researching the next one. And so I use around 400 sources to write a novel, and those are books. I use physical books.
Wow.
I buy the vast majority of them at a giant used bookshop here it's in Jacksonville called the Chamblin Book Mine. It's a wonderful place. He's got incredible selections in there, just thousands, tens of thousands of volumes. I'm very fortunate to have that where I can go get the material I need. And I don't read 400 books, but I do read large chunks of 400 books. And I take a lot of notes out of those books, and those notes stack about 6 inches high. And of that stack, I'm only going to use about 10% of the information in there. And I don't know when I'm going to use it till I start writing the novel. The hardest thing for folks in my genre is mixing information with action. It's the hardest thing to do. And I'm not saying I'm great at it or I'm wonderful at it. I'm only saying I'm very conscious of it. And I make a very conscious effort to mix the information with the action as carefully as I can so you don't get too much of either one of those.
Right. No, actually, you're very good at it. The integration of exposition so the plot doesn't ground to a halt or people feel like they're being lectured, but still you give it that fascinating nonfiction extra layer, subtext, whatever you want to call it. It's one of the things that makes your book special.
Thank you. The trick is for them to be reading down the page, and all at once they just realize they learned something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
And they never realized it till they got about 3 paragraphs down. Mm. They go, "Oh, I just learned something." That's the trick. You can do that. That's the goal.
Yeah. Since we're talking about history, can we talk a minute about History Matters, your nonprofit, which, among other things, I think is helping to preserve historical landmarks? How did that come about?
About 11 years ago, we decided we want to try to give back a little bit. So Elizabeth and I created History Matters. And what we do is we go around to communities, we help them raise money for their local historical projects. We've done libraries, buildings, posters, documents, books, cemeteries, you name it, we've raised money for it. About 90 projects around the country and one in Canada. And we've raised a little over $2 million for those various historical projects. Historical preservation is a local thing. There's no one going to come do it for you. You've got to do it yourself. And we help communities with that. It's been very gratifying. And we don't do as many as we used to. We do 1 or 2 a year now. And we try to find the right thing. And if we find the right thing, we go for it.
That's fantastic work, though. You've really taken on some fantastic projects. Steve, thanks again for being on the podcast.
Great to be here, Bill.
Bye-bye. Thank you again, Steve, for that wonderful interview. And let me remind everyone, first, of course, you knew I was going to say this, Final Verdict, the 6th and final Daniel Pike book, is now available for pre-order. And this is a great time to send me any suggestions regarding this podcast, my website, the WriterCon website, the conference, the retreats, or anything else. My email address, again, is wb@williambernhardt.com. Your ratings and reviews of this podcast are always appreciated. Until next time, it'll be a whole new year when I talk to you next, so you know what I think your New Year's resolution ought to be. Keep writing. Make yourself write every day. And remember, you cannot fail if you refuse to quit.